Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Bill Bixby, Louise Troy. Tonight's episode, To Denise with Love and Murder.
Going out?
Well, yes, I was heading over to the club for a bit. Why? Did you have something on?
Oh, no. I just hoped we might do something together.
Oh, well, good. Then why don't you come along with me? Maybe we can get up a foursome.
Why don't we make it a twosome?
And what do? Go to the park? And I'll carve our initials in a tree. Alex loves Hazel.
Oh, Alex. Am I being that tiresome?
No. You're being affectionate and possessive and obviously very proud to be seen with your husband, and I love it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I seem to be doing a lot of apologizing lately, and I don't know why.
Nor I. You don't have to apologize.
Mrs. Chandler, you wanted on the phone.
Who is it, Martha?
I don't know. They wouldn't give a name.
Oh. Well, I'll take it in the sitting room. Hello, Alex.
Hello. Well, what's this?
It's a little party, darling.
A little party is for two.
Well, I have a surprise for you. Your wife is joining us.
The joke's in bad taste.
I may not know too much about good taste, Alex, but it's no joke. I phoned her and I invited her.
I don't believe it. Denise, you couldn't be that stupid.
What's more, darling, she's coming.
Do you know what you've done? I mean, do you have any idea?
She had to be told, Alex, and you kept putting it off. Look, Alex, it has been 6 months. I gave up my job. I've been stuck in this apartment. Are you getting a divorce? Are we ever getting married or not?
What did you say to her?
Nothing. I simply told her that it was time we sat down and worked out a settlement for her.
A settlement? We're gonna pay her off with what?
Look, don't you pretend you haven't got plenty of money. I know where you live and you drive a Rolls Royce.
You don't know anything. Now, I want you to call her back on the phone right now. You tell her you made a mistake. Do you understand? You tell her you got in touch with the wrong Mrs. Chandler.
Just a minute, Alex.
I'm telling you to call her right now, and I don't care what you say, but you keep her away from this place.
You don't have any money, do you? It comes from her, doesn't it?
Call her!
It all comes from her, doesn't it, Alex? The money for the gifts? My ring? Well, I bet you she's even paying for this apartment. She's rich and you're... What are you, Alex? There's a word for men who marry rich, old women. What is it?
I'm telling you to shut up.
Come on, Alex. Say it. Say it, you gigolo!
Denise, I'm sorry. Denise.
Alex.
Oh, Hazel, since you didn't want to go out, I decided to take a drive. I almost got hit by a drunken driver. It really shook me.
Why don't you stop lying, Alex? I know all about you and Denise Fraser. She asked me over to discuss a settlement. For me. Isn't that a laugh?
Hazel. She's a silly little airline stewardess I met on a plane. She thinks she's in love with me. I've had absolutely nothing to do with her. Please believe me.
If this were the first time, I might. But it's a little late for that now.
Now, look, you've got this all wrong. Now, give me the bag.
Let me go.
Give me the bag.
Now, you understand, I want to help because, after all, that is what I'm selling. But to tell you the truth, Mr. Turlock, I'm not quite sure in my own mind exactly what it is you want.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. I'm afraid I haven't expressed it very well.
Well, let's see if we can work it out. Now, you say that you're afraid that something has happened, or is happening, or is going to happen to your sister, Mrs. Hazel Turlock Chandler.
Yes, that's it exactly.
What?
Well, that's the problem, don't you see? Nobody knows. Poor Hazel hasn't been seen for 2 weeks. Alex won't let anybody in the house.
Alex, that's your brother-in-law.
He's my sister's husband.
And you telephoned, of course.
Of course. Alex always answers, always gives the same reply. My wife isn't well enough to see anybody. And that includes her own doctor. I tell you, Mr. Jones, poor Hazel is a prisoner in her own house.
You say that literally. It is her own house.
It's all hers. Everything. Man is an absolute fortune hunter. That was obvious from the start to everybody except poor Hazel. And now he's going to murder her. If he hasn't already done it.
Well, I think you ought to go to the police.
Mr. Jones, I have been to the police. They say that there's no evidence that any crime has been committed. And so they're powerless to do anything. I don't know what we pay taxes for.
All right. All right, I'll try to see what I can find out about your sister. Now, my secretary will take care of all the details.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yeah. Aphids.
Could you please not lay on the bell? There's a very sick woman in the house.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What do you want?
Well, I'd like to see Mrs. Alex Chandler.
Well, she cannot be disturbed right now. If there's anything I can do, I'm her husband.
Well, no, I have some papers that require Mrs. Chandler's signature.
Yes, why don't you just give them to me? I'll have her sign them, and I will mail them to you.
Well, I'm afraid that won't do because I have to witness her signature. It'll only take a moment.
Then you'll have to come back another time. She's too sick to see anyone. Doctor's orders.
Well, if she's under doctor's care, I could get her an extension. The doctor's name is...
Look, I don't give a damn about your extension. I haven't got time to stand here and talk to you. Good day.
Mr. Chandler, you gotta spray your roses.
Are you looking for someone?
Are you Martha?
That's half my name.
Well, I apologize for the informality, but the only information I had was Martha, this address, and you used to be Mrs. Chandler's housekeeper.
I'm still her housekeeper. Who gave you that information?
Charles Turlock. He hired me to... Well, he was worried about his sister's health, and he thought maybe you might know how she is.
You some kind of a policeman or something?
A private detective hired by Mr. Turlock.
Well, I suppose you better come in. But I'm warning you, you're not going to get anything out of me. Because what I see in that house and what I hear in that house stays in that house.
Nice sentiment, but you might be of help. No one has seen or spoken to Mrs. Chandler in the last 2 weeks.
I wouldn't know about that. I've been off for 2 weeks.
Why?
Well, they didn't need me, of course.
Here, let me help you with that. When was the last time you saw Mrs. Chandler?
I just told you, 2 weeks ago.
Ah, so you did, Martha. Was that when she laid you off?
I wasn't laid off. Besides, it wasn't her. Mr. Chandler called me the next morning and said he wouldn't be needing me for a few days.
Was Mrs. Chandler ailing or anything?
She was going out for tea. Now, does that sound like ailing?
Would you know with whom?
The name was Denise Fraser. And don't ask me who she is, because I never heard of it before.
You mean she invited Mrs. Chandler to tea and Mrs. Chandler went with a stranger?
A stranger to me isn't necessarily a stranger to her.
Would you know where?
As a matter of fact, I do. Mrs. Chandler asked me to look it up for her in the map. It's in Glendale on Dadeland Street. But that's the last word you're going to get out of me.
I respect your discretion, Martha.
Mrs. Durant to you.
Mrs. Durant, thank you very much, and the best of luck to you.
Well, when you've been managing apartment buildings as long as I have, Mr. Jones, nothing surprises you. Especially the tricks they pull to try to duck out on the rent.
I'll bet you're not often fooled, Mr. Woodford.
No. Oh, right here. Right here is where I found the box with the things. Now, you take this Denise Fraser. Good-looking girl. Really built. Lives alone. And as far as anyone knows, no job. Okay, enough said.
I am reading your mind.
No, right away, I said, I got her pegged. She'll take off secretly, dead of night. 2 weeks ago, she did.
Denise Fraser. Take 3 times a day. Is all she left?
Yep. Found her over there by the elevator where I showed you. Like she laid it down, then forgot it.
Maybe she didn't have room for the stuff in her car.
Oh, I doubt that, Mr. Jones. She drove away in a Rolls Royce.
Did she now? Secretly, in the dead of the night. How do you know this, Mr. Wolford?
I used to pass her in the hall, right up and down the elevator with her. She wasn't a very friendly type. As a matter of fact, she turned out to be downright unfriendly. She flattened me with the heel of her shoe.
Why would you do that?
I was looking at her car. Well, I don't think it was hers. There'd never been a car in that parking space until that night. I came upon her when she was skipping out. I guess she thought I was going to blow the whistle on her. If I'd have known it, I'd have helped her move.
Did you happen to get the license number?
Mr. Jones, I got hit in the head with a shoe. They don't have license numbers.
All right, mister, hold it right there. I have a gun on you. And if you don't believe it, make a quick move. What are you doing here?
Well, I haven't got these papers signed by your wife yet. You told me to come back later.
She's asleep, and not in the garage.
Well, I could see that. What kind of car does your wife drive? A Rolls, isn't it?
That's right, but I don't think that's any of your business.
There's no car of any kind in there now. Did she go away somewhere, Mr. Chandler?
I told you. Let me see that. This has nothing to do with my wife. What do you want here? Maybe we should let the police take care of this. Never mind, just get out of here. And don't try it again. Next time I'll shoot first.
Your sister was last seen 2 weeks ago when she left her house to visit a Denise Fraser.
Who is she?
I was counting a lot on your telling me who she is.
She's no one I ever heard of.
All we know about her is that she is a good-looking young lady who lived alone in an apartment in Glendale, minus job or car.
Why would Hazel go to see her?
I don't know, but I know that she went. A car just like hers was seen in the garage of the apartment house. Now it's missing.
Do you think it's enough to force the police to take action?
Yeah, I think so, along with the fact that Lieutenant Taylor's an old friend of mine.
If Mrs. Chandler has been missing for 2 weeks under somewhat mysterious circumstances, why wait until now to report it?
Well, in the beginning, the circumstances were not that mysterious. Quite the contrary. You see, Lieutenant, my wife has been going through a stage of slight emotional problems, and when she got upset, it was not uncommon for her to just jump in the car and drive off.
Where?
La Jolla, Santa Barbara, usually to visit friends, and, well, to save her embarrassment, I would cover for her by saying she was upstairs with a headache, and in a few days she'd come back, and no one ever knew she was gone.
And this time?
I called La Jolla, Santa Barbara, Palm Springs, and none of her friends have even heard from her.
And that's when you decided to turn in a missing persons report.
Well, first, I called my lawyer for advice.
Well, I told Mr. Chandler to hold off a while longer until I made some inquiries.
And I'm sure you wouldn't be here, sir, if you'd found out anything.
Well, I found out that Mrs. Chandler's family and friends in the city no longer believed she was at home sick. And it was becoming an increasing source of embarrassment to Mr. Chandler.
Oh, now, of course, the most important thing is, I'm worried sick. Well, good morning, Charles. I was going to ask what you were doing here, but now that I see your friend, I think I can guess.
Where's my sister? And don't tell me she's homesick. I know she's not there at all.
I'm afraid that Hazel has disappeared, Charles.
What have you done to her? She's dead, isn't she? You killed her and hid her body. You murderer.
Oh, murderer! Well, I hated to do that, Charles. But I had no choice.
Let's go, Alex.
Take him to the washroom and put some cold water on his nose.
Were you waiting to see me, Barnaby?
Well, I was, but I got a feeling that it's going to be a waste of time now. The housekeeper said Mrs. Chandler left at 3 p.m. to visit a woman she didn't know. Several hours later, her car was still in that apartment house garage.
A witness saw a Rolls that may have been Mrs. Chandler's car, Barnaby.
The tenant said he saw Denise Fraser check out of her apartment and a tearing her in drive away in a Rolls Royce. Mrs. Chandler hasn't been seen since, and neither has her car.
Anything else, Barnaby?
Yes. Her brother thinks she's been murdered. What's Chandler's story?
He says his wife took off in a snit, leaving this note behind.
But did Mrs. Chandler write the note?
Turlock admits that it's her handwriting. Of course, it's undated.
Oh, well, then.
Well, you gotta hand it to Chandler, Betty. He saw things coming to a head, so he moved first.
Well, if he's so clever, why did he lie about her being in the house?
Well, if she's dead, he's bought himself 2 weeks to cover up his tracks.
And Denise Frazier?
Now, there is a young lady that could throw a lot of light on this case.
If you could find her.
I was going to say that. You know that box of junk she left in the garage? Well, there was a half bottle of pills in there. She's on some kind of medication. Now, if she has that prescription refilled.
Did you get the name of the pharmacy?
No, I didn't.
Barnaby!
I was going to say that I slipped the bottle into my pocket, absent-mindedly.
I wonder if I might be able to get a prescription refilled. Yes, Denise Frazier, 175062. Yes, that's Dr. Belfield. You do deliver, don't you? Oh, good. I just want to make sure that you don't send it to my old address. Right. Thank you very much. Try the Beckwith in Westchester. It's one of those swinging single apartments. Try it. You might like it.
I just might.
Welcome aboard. I'm Sherry.
Barnaby Jones. Is Denise a stewardess, too?
Oh, that's all we have here, Mr. Jones. 4 of us share this place. Even though it doesn't look like it, we're hardly ever all here at once.
Why did Denise move out?
Well, all I can tell you is Denise met a man. She just quit her job and took off. She might have married him for all I know.
I don't think so.
Oh, he already was. Well, that's standard. Poor Denise.
Where might she go if she broke up with him?
Back to work, I guess. She's still a stewardess, Mr. Jones. She could deadhead on any flight anywhere in the country.
Or out of the country?
Sure.
Do you happen to have a picture of her?
I bet you've seen a picture of her plenty of times and never knew it. There she is.
Oh, so that's Denise. Very pretty girl. Do you mind if I keep this?
Oh, sure. Tear out the page.
Thank you very much. You know, Denise was taking some sort of a medication for something. Do you know what it was for?
Uh-huh. Air sickness.
Barnaby, maybe you have nothing better to do than stand around drinking milk in the middle of the day, but I'm a working stiff.
Maybe I can lighten your load, little Joe.
Mrs. Chandler?
Yeah. You turn anything?
We only got it this morning. Don't tell me you found it.
Nope. Looking for Denise Frazier. She was a stewardess until she quit her job when she met a man.
Alex Chandler?
Why not?
Where's the stewardess?
I figure she caught a plane out of town, and I also figure she may have driven that Rolls Royce out here. I talked to the parking lot people. People do that, you know. They leave their cars out here for days, sometimes a week. But longer than that, it gets a little noticeable, especially if it's a luxury job like this.
Yep.
Keys are on the visor.
Of course, you checked it out already.
Even looked in the trunk.
funny.
No, Joe, it's not funny. See the dark area on the rug?
Blood?
Blood. I understand Lieutenant Taylor is here.
Isn't he always? We seem to be spending all of our time together. I wish I could feel that all this was helping Hazel. Mr. Jones.
Hello, Barnaby. Were you looking for me?
Yep. Well, perhaps you gentlemen would like to use this room to talk.
Well?
The stain we found in the car trunk was blood. Type AB. Chandler's is type O. We also found hair, woman's hair, skin scrapings, cloth fibers. Barnaby, I think he killed his wife and hid the body.
Are you ready to make an arrest?
Without the body, the evidence is circumstantial.
Sorry, Lieutenant. Can we see you upstairs for a minute?
Right. I'll hang around for a while, Barnaby.
What is it?
I don't know.
Mr. Jones, I know you think I killed my wife, but you couldn't be more wrong. Now, she's alive somewhere, I know that.
Why would you stay away so long?
Maybe she doesn't realize she's missing.
Front page story.
Then she must be someplace where she can't see a newspaper.
No radio, no TV? Where could such a place be?
I don't know where and I don't know why, but I do know she'll turn up somewhere, alive and well.
These your boots, Mr. Chandler?
Well, I think it's safe to assume that all of the men's apparel in this house is mine. Why?
Well, one of our technical men says there's a stain. Says it could be blood. Now, Mr. Chandler, until we can check this out, I don't think you ought to leave town or anything.
Yes.
Mr. Chandler.
You followed me?
I'm afraid I did. When I saw your face when Taylor showed you those shoes, I thought you might make a break for it.
No. You couldn't be more wrong. After you left, I got a lead on Hazel. I think I know where she is.
I wouldn't question that for a minute.
She's alive. If you just give me 6 hours, I'll produce her. I give you my word.
That's out of my hands, Chandler. The police are on their way here now. All I'm supposed to do is delay you.
Where's Jones? I've got to see him.
Mr. Turlock, just a second. I'll see if he's busy. Mr. Turlock?
He's out. He's been released.
Chandler? How do you know?
It was on the news. I heard it on the car radio.
Betty, get me Lieutenant Taylor.
Right.
They arrest him one day and release him the next for murder? How can that be?
Well, that's what we're going to find out.
But he murdered my sister, and now he's out walking the streets. What kind of a police department do we have?
Mr. Turlock, just settle down.
Barnaby, Lieutenant Taylor on line 2.
Joe?
Yeah, Barnaby. Yeah, your information is correct. His lawyer got him written out in his custody. 5 days. We've either got to charge him or kick him loose.
Well, the blood on Chandler's shoes matched that in the trunk of the car, didn't it? Well, that's your connection.
Yeah, but the DA wants to see a body, and we can't find it. What attempt to flee the country? He had a ticket to New Mexico.
New Mexico?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Betty, give me the business office of the phone company, talk to my friend there, ask him if they have any record of any phone calls between Albuquerque and the Chandler house recently.
Right. Mr. Jones, what's this all about?
Denise Fraser is in New Mexico. I'll bet you that Chandler was on his way there to pick her up and then on to Canada or Brazil or someplace out of the country. That's the only way it makes sense.
They're checking the billings now. Yes. 2 recent calls to Albuquerque. Charged to that number? 1 call there, 1 collect call from Albuquerque. And the name of the party, I'm sorry, in Albuquerque? Logan's Trading Post? Outside of Albuquerque. Thank you.
Yeah, this feller called me long distance from Los Angeles. He wanted to know if anybody was staying up to the old Double Circle Ranch. Well, shucks, mister, I said. We ain't had a delivery up there in 5, maybe 6 years. Place is all boarded up, tumbled down. Ain't nothing up there no more. So he said, well, now, if you ain't been up there, how do you know that somebody ain't staying up there? I guess he had you there. I reckon you're right. So I said to this fella in Los Angeles, I said, the next time the boy has a run up that way, I'll tell him to stop by and have a look around. I bet you'd never guess what he saw. A woman. Yeah, a woman. Good afternoon, miss. Denise Fraser?
No.
Is she around?
No.
You mean she's gone?
No, there never was anyone here by that name.
There never was? I could have sworn that... You mean I made this trip from Los Angeles for nothing? The name doesn't mean anything to you? Well, thank you very much. Miss Chandler!
Yes?
Miss Chandler! Don't you know what's happened? Everybody thinks you're dead and buried.
Really? How did I die?
You were murdered. By your husband.
You seem to know a great deal about my affairs, Mr. Jones.
I know you left your house to call on Denise Fraser. After that, nothing.
Do you know who she is?
I suspect she's your husband's girlfriend.
She wasn't home. At least she didn't answer my ring. I don't know why. So I decided to go away somewhere, think things out. Then Alex came home with the car. We had an argument. I left. I had to find a place Alex couldn't think of. I remembered the ranch.
So you bought an airplane ticket under a different name?
Yes, my first husband's name. And I came here. And I've been here ever since. Did Alex kill Denise Fraser?
There were bloodstains in the trunk of your car and other evidence. There must have been a body there.
I suppose she was very young and beautiful.
Oh, yes. I never saw her, but I have her picture.
Please. She is lovely. They look so nice in those uniforms. That's how he met her. Alex is a pilot.
He was.
What is it, Mr. Jones?
I was just thinking, if I wanted to get rid of something like a body, and I could fly an airplane, I'd just fly it about 100 miles out into the Pacific and forget about it.
Horrible.
If the police had that airplane, there's always a certain amount of evidence. They could tie it up with the trunk of your car and Alex's shoes. Mr. Chandler own his own plane?
No.
No, that would make it too easy.
Hello? Hello? Hazel? Hazel, where are you?
Alex, I just saw a newspaper for the first time in 3 weeks. What's this nonsense that I'm missing?
Oh, well, it's just a mistake. Where are you? New Mexico, yes, I thought so, yes. Well, now, darling, look, why don't you just get right back here, home, where we can straighten everything out?
Don't worry about it, Alex. I'll just call the Los Angeles police and tell them.
No. No, darling, I think we really should talk it over first. There's been too much notoriety about this, and Look, why don't we meet someplace?
No, I can't, Alex. I sprained my ankle walking along the canyon.
Oh, well, darling, now you shouldn't have done a thing like that. I mean, you might have fallen all the way to the bottom. You could have had a serious injury. You're all alone. Nobody knows you're there. Well, you might not have been discovered for weeks. No. I'll tell you, you just stay there, and I'll be right down to get you. No, I won't hear of it. I want you to stay there. You get some sleep. I'm flying down immediately. And I'll be there by the crack of dawn. Yes. Oh, and darling, I do love you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Chandler. Following me again? Afraid so, but it's been very profitable. You're a pilot.
What about it?
Well, you must see that answers the big question, where you hid the body. Out to sea, and nobody will ever find it.
Mr. Jones, I'm going to tell you this one more time. I did not murder my wife. She is not dead, and by tomorrow I'll be able to prove that.
Well, I'm not talking about your wife. I know she's alive. You murdered Denise Fraser.
Jones,
I've taken just about all I'm going to out of you.
You know, there's bound to be traces of blood and skin and clothes in there, just the same as in the car trunk. And blood is very hard to wash out completely, Mr. Chandler. I might say almost impossible. If this is a plane you used to dispose of Denise...
It isn't.
If it isn't, I've blown the whole case against you. But it is the one, isn't it, Mr. Chandler? I guess that's as good an answer as anything.
Get in the plane.
For a ride out to sea?
No, this time I'm taking another direction. Over mountainous terrain, but they won't be able to find you. Get in.
You don't think I'm fool enough to confront a murderer at night in a dark hangar alone, do you?
Cops?
Yep.
Well, it looks like they didn't make it.
I called them.
You're lying. Get in the plane.
You see?
All right, freeze, Chandler.
Slide it over. Come on, Mr. Chandler, we'll take you home now.
Over here, Mr. Jones. They were just covered with aphids. But I think they're all right now.
Are you all right?
No, not yet. But I'm getting there. Well, it is so nice to see you again, Mr. Jones. I thought we might have lunch in the garden.
Yes, it's too nice a day to stay inside.
Well, come along then.
Mr. Jones.
Hello, Mr. Turlock. And the top of the morning to you, Mrs. Durant.
Lunch is served.
Well, can't win them all.
Shall we?
Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Geraldine Brooks, Jerry Hauser, Andrew Parks. Tonight's episode, The Murdering Class.
Stop horsing around. We'll never get finished in here. A lot of tables still need chairs, you know. Oh, put Mrs. Ogden next to the minister. Maybe he can shame her into buying some tickets for the tennis fund. I certainly couldn't, even though I am headmistress. Don't forget those flowers tomorrow morning, first thing here.
Oh, Janet.
Yes.
Your brother.
Thanks, Victor. George.
Looks very nice.
Oh, hope so.
Oh, I found 10 of these medieval histories you wanted. Now, if you need any more,
George, those are very heavy, and 10 is fine. But why don't you get one of the boys to help you?
Oh, no. They have their job, and I have mine. I think I've been sober long enough to carry my own weight, and 10 medieval histories.
George, thank you.
I'll put them in the office.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've done about all we can for tonight. And some of you have some midterm exams to study for. Thank you.
Paul, what are you doing here?
Boy, you gave me a scare, Mr. Enright.
What are you doing here, Paul? Come on out. Come on.
Well, I'm working student desk this week. I came back because I left a book. I'm cramming for exams, so I gotta go.
You opened the private file, didn't you, Paul? How'd you learn the combination?
I didn't take the money.
All right, wait, Paul. I think we better go talk to my sister about this.
I didn't take anything, Mr. Enright.
Paul,
I didn't take anything.
What's the rush? You got it, didn't you?
Charles, listen, George Enright caught me at it. It's awful. We gotta get help.
Haste makes waste, Paul. Now tell me again, without the emotional embellishment.
I didn't mean to.
Tell me, Paul, what's awful?
I think I killed him.
You think? Now, if you're ever going to be a newspaper man, always make sure of the facts. Come on. Back to the scene of the crime. Well, Paul, this makes you the first murderer I've ever known.
I'm gonna call the police. Operator?
Your mouth is dry, dear boy. The adrenaline is short-circuiting your brain and you'll botch everything. The police, bumbling as they are, will ask questions. What were you doing there, Paul Thayer? And your buddy, your pal, Charles Lomax, what brought him to the headmistress's office? Do you want to tell them all that, Paul?
What are we gonna do?
Hang in there, Paul. You take the head. I'll take the feet. Come on, Paul, he won't bite you. Bottle. Let that be a lesson to you. That's what happens to alcoholics who can't stay away from their booze. They get into all kinds of terrible accidents. Sometimes fatal.
And there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun. For the Lord God giveth them light, and they shall reign forever and ever. And he said unto me, These sayings are faithful and true. And the Lord God of the holy prophet sent his angel to show unto his servants the things which must be true. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. Amen.
Anything I can do, would you let me know?
Oh, of course, Ron. Thank you. Thank you. Well,
Are you all right, Janet?
oh, I'm fine, thank you. It was a lovely service. I appreciate
I'll
it.
call on you later.
Sure now.
Go on, get out of here. I'm fine. Barnaby Jones?
Yes, Miss Enright. You have my sympathy, Miss Enright. I didn't know if I should come now or...
I'm glad you did. I want my brother's name cleared. Whatever it may cost.
Well, since I was driving through town, I stopped and had a talk with Lieutenant Roth.
And did he convince you that George stole that money?
Well, let's say he made a good start.
Mr. Jones, Lieutenant Roth didn't know my brother. I'd like to tell you about him. This was George. He loved books. When we agreed that I'd take control of the school, he insisted on earning his keep, as he put it, by staying on as our librarian.
Am I right In your statement to the police, you said that your brother gave up drinking about 8 months ago.
Yes, as soon as I'd officially taken over the school. I assumed that he just no longer needed whiskey as an escape from responsibility.
What do you figure set him off drinking that night?
I don't know how George got to the cliff. I don't know how the whiskey got on him. I don't know how the money from the tennis fund got into his pockets. I only know one thing. My brother. He didn't need to steal. Look, this shelf here, all first editions. This set of Longfellow alone, it's worth thousands. If my brother wanted money for liquor or anything else, he could have sold it. Was the man who lived here a thief?
This is called doubles, Lomax. Now in doubles, you let your partner hit the ball when it comes into his side of the court, okay?
Oh, good Lord. Mid-year finals here all next week, and then the SATs, and then the University of California stuff.
What difference does it make? You're gonna flunk them all anyway.
Everything under control, Eddie? Paul?
Yeah, no sweat, ma'am. Here, Mr. Cather, please, you take this booklet and you read it carefully at your leisure, and if you have any questions whatsoever, you don't hesitate to ask anyone in this office, okay?
Well, Paul, we'll need... Oh, Janet. I didn't think you'd be in today. Why, I can handle anything that comes up.
I really want to, Victor. This is Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, this is our college counselor, Victor Stern.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do, Mr. Stern?
As you know, I wasn't satisfied with Lieutenant Roth's reports, and so I've asked Mr. Jones to come from Los Angeles to make some further investigations for me. If he needs anything, I know you'll give him all the help you can.
Of course, Mr. Jones. Anything I can do.
Thank you, Mr. Stern.
Paul, I'll need 50 copies of this college requirement.
Yes, sir. 50 copies right away.
Game, set, match. Nice going, guys. Ross, I want to show you why that second serve of yours isn't working, okay? Lomax. Now, maybe you got the rest of the school conned into thinking that you're the greatest since sliced bread. But on a tennis court, you're nothing but a second-rate grandstander.
Lucky idiots, we can beat them any 4 out of 5 sets.
Yeah, if you let your partner play, Lomax.
When I draw a lousy partner, Whitney, I have to try to carry him.
Big deal.
Charles, I gotta talk to you.
Only 1 autograph per customer, please. Did you hear that grandstander crack? Boy, you give a guy like Fannin a little authority and he turns into...
Listen, we're in trouble.
The official verdict was accidental death while intoxicated. Official.
Yeah, well, you know that guy who came in late to the cemetery? He's a private detective from L.A. that Enright hired.
How do you know?
Because I keep my big ears open, that's how. He's up in her office right now going over the whole thing. I'm telling you, he's gonna find out.
He won't have time to find out. Not if we handle it right.
You've handled it so far, and we're going down the drain.
No, Paul. Neither of us is going down the drain, nor down the tube, nor up the creek. A little spice has been added to the brew, that's all.
It was an accident. I'm gonna tell.
You are not gonna burn yourself, and you are not gonna burn me. Do you understand?
What are we gonna do?
We have to make sure that our tall, straight, gray-haired private investigator from Lotus Land finds his criminal, don't we? And clears the blot from the Enright escutcheon. But how? We have to throw a little light on the in the woodpile. I was thinking that it's inconceivable that Paul Thayer, class vice president, honors student, etc., is the type of young man who goes around robbing people and killing them in fits of temper. But he is. Full of psychological hang-ups, understandably uptight about his position. Yes. I'm afraid Mr. Fannin killed old George. Strong, powerful man with a hot temper. He's liable to do anything. Even murder.
Hello. Oh. Mr. Jones. I'm Paul Thayer. This is Charles Lomax.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do, sir?
Thayer? Lomax. Yeah, I've been reading about you. You are president of the senior class, edited the paper, a lot of school activities.
I'm from the East, Mr. Jones. I learned to stuff ballot boxes at my father's knee. Is there anything we can do to help, sir?
Well, yeah, there might be, especially since you're on the paper. Any idea how this flash bulb got in the closet?
I can't imagine, sir.
Why, Paul, this is the size you use. You must have dropped it.
Me? How could I have dropped
Our layout on George Enright, remember? You took 3 or 4 shots up here.
Oh, yeah, sure. I guess it's mine. I'm always losing them, you know?
Oh.
Do you have any offices besides Los Angeles, Mr. Jones, working with other private investigators?
You know, that's as good a loaded question as I ever heard. 3 pieces of information at one crack. Where did you hear that I was... Well, of course, all good newspaper men know what's going on around them, don't they?
You are investigating Mr. Enright's murder, aren't you?
The inquest didn't seem to find any reason for assuming murder. Did you discuss your theory with anyone else at the time of the inquest?
No. Then I wasn't sure of my ground. But I'm very sure of it now. And there's a lot more than meets the eye in this whole tragic mess, Mr. Jones.
A witness talked to Charles.
And when I was going back to the dorm from the auditorium, 10:30 or so, I saw somebody go in the administration building. That's where Miss Enright's office is. You know.
Recognize him, Willie?
Not exactly. It was too far away. A man, definitely. Just a guy. Medium build.
Well, that's not very much to go on.
I thought it one of those borderline facts, too, but possibly enough to have the verdict questioned.
Yeah, well, as I say, that's not very much, but you never know. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Good luck on those exams.
Did I do all right?
Not bad at all. Bit of the hook, bit of the line, next the sinker.
But I don't get it. Why didn't you want me to give him the name?
It's been almost a week, you idiot. You can't wait all this time and then up and say, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention it, but I happened to see Ron Fannin, the tennis whiz, up there with old George the night he was totaled. Police are like turkeys in November. Start feeding them a bunch of garbage, they get suspicious. Now, Paul, got your checkbook handy?
My checkbook?
Write out a check for $100. Payable to the tennis committee fund. Let's see, today's the 17th. Old George died the 14th, dated 2 days before that, the 12th.
What's the idea?
Just do it, Paul.
What'd you have me write it for if you're just gonna burn it?
You've got to feed them their clues bit by bit. That way they'll swallow it all. I have some good news and some bad news. First, the good news. You've dug far enough. Now the bad news. Open it. It's getting late. Open the coffin. How about that, Paul? He's smiling at you.
Who's gonna do it?
Why, you. You're responsible for the poor man's demise. It's the least you can do. Gently. I think we're ready for the final touches. Mr. Fannin himself.
What's all that, Miss Enright?
They arrested Ron Fannin for murdering George.
What?
Lieutenant Roth said that George must have surprised him while I was trying to break into the cabinet. He killed George. Then he tried to make it look like an accident.
That's a mighty far cry from their first verdict.
That first verdict was death while intoxicated. George couldn't have been drunk.
Let's see the boys first. Fannon's with his lawyer right now. He goes before Judge Perry for arraignment at 4 o'clock.
Things are moving pretty fast, aren't they, Hank?
Hello, Mr. Jones. They bringing you in on this officially?
I understand you three have had a busy day.
Look, you understand why we couldn't bring everything to you first.
Perfectly, but Lieutenant Roth and I aren't in competition for a prize. We're both in the same business.
Yeah, same business, different pay.
Lieutenant's been telling me that you boys have been poking around down below the cliff and you came up with some new evidence.
Charles found it near where they found the body.
A Wimbledon button.
I've heard of Wimbledon tennis, but what's a Wimbledon button?
This, Barnaby. It's like an Olympic button. And this is his official Wimbledon blazer we found in his closet.
Oh. Oh, you were lucky to find it.
Oh, yes, sir. We thought the police might have overlooked something when they searched the area originally. And we all know how understaffed this office is, so...
So, with the button, plus what Grant here told us, I got a search warrant and it paid off. Made out by Paul Thayer to the Tennis Committee Fund. We found it in a pile of ashes in Fannon's fireplace.
I thought all the loot was on Enright.
Well, when Fannin suddenly found himself mixed up in a murder, he planted everything on Enright to make it look like an accident. He overlooked that and burned it when he got home.
Well, pretty dumb not to have made sure it burned completely.
Well, maybe, but I'm not about to look a gift horse in the mouth, Barnaby. Especially if he's dumb enough to leave the murder weapon around.
A weapon? Well, Hank, looks like you got this whole thing wrapped up.
Fannon's cellar. These hairs were stuck in a switch. They were caught there after he caved in Enright's skull, after Enright caught him stealing.
The medical examiner confirmed, of course.
They checked against those from the autopsy. The victim's hair, definitely.
Well, looks like I've only got one question to ask you all. When is the hanging?
Well, I don't need a private eye. I need a lawyer.
I'm not looking for a fee, Mr. Fannin. I have permission to talk to you if you want to talk to me. How about it?
You can't help me a bit. Somebody's got me in a box and they want to keep me here. No, I don't want to talk to you, Jones. Now, damn it, would you leave me alone?
I know you're mad, Mr. Fannin. I don't blame you. I just don't believe you're as stupid as Lieutenant Roth must think you are. The case they got against you is pretty convincing. If people want to believe you pulled a dozen dumb moves in the space of an hour.
Okay, let him in. Now, what's in all this for you?
Well, I got myself right in the middle of something I sure didn't expect. All of a sudden, funny questions started getting funny answers. I don't know quite how to explain this to you, but there's something sticking way inside of me here. I don't know if that's my craw or my gullet or what, but anyway, there's something sticking in there and I want to get it unstuck, that's all.
Yeah, well, I got a belly full of my own, too.
Well, let's start spitting them out. Do you know what Roth is counting on, all of it?
Well, there's the flashlight, there's Mr. Enright's hair, there's the blazer button, the tennis fund check, the fact that I knew that there was a couple of $1,000s in the safe.
That's a pretty neat package.
Yeah, but to begin with, I don't even know the combination.
The beauty of circumstantial evidence is that nobody has to prove how you got into the filing cabinet, only that it's obvious you did.
That's about as logical as Willie Grand saying he saw someone who looked like Mr. Fannin about the time that Mr. Enright was killed.
And what do you say to that?
Well, our death was supposed to have been about 10:30, right?
Give or take a few minutes.
Did you ask Janet Enright where she was about then?
Why?
She's my alibi, Mr. Jones. She was with me. Ask your client.
I've been telling George that he can rest easy now. He's been exonerated.
An arrest isn't exactly a conviction, you know. Mr. Fannin tells me that when you left the auditorium that night, you and he talked about the tournament until he left you at your door.
It's true.
And you left a little after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it's about 15 minutes from the auditorium to Wyndham House. I walked it today. And another 15 minutes back to the administration building. Let's say a few minutes for talk. That's about 45 minutes, right?
Mr. Jones, the authorities have gone into all of this. They have proof of what Mr. Fannin did.
It's not proof if Mr. Fannin couldn't be there. Now, I'm practically convinced that he couldn't have taken you to your door, gotten back to your offices, gotten up and struggled with your brother, and had death occur at the time the coroner said it did.
I'm sorry, but it's really out of my hands. And I must go.
Miss Enright, very little honor will accrue to your brother's name if it's done at the expense of an innocent man.
Of course not. But how can anyone be sure of how long we were talking, or of how fast we walked? You brought up time and the clock. No one has suggested that Mr. Fannin, who is an athlete, might well have run back across campus.
If you run to a place you intend to rob, witnesses are inclined to remember it.
Mr. Jones, you and I, we both believe in logic.
Yes, Miss Enright, that we do.
All right. What motive could there have been for this crime, except money? Ron Fannin was in my office trying to steal $2,000. Now, it was money that he knew was there because he had given it to me. There is no other motive. And now you must excuse me. I have a million things to do.
Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon.
You certainly keep things pretty around here.
Well, thank you very much.
How often you water this time of year?
Oh, I usually turn the sprinklers on about evening this time of the year for about an hour and a half.
You'd think that earth would have settled more, wouldn't you?
I know that some of you are not going to be happy with these exam schedules, but I've done the fairest I can. Some of you will have 2 finals in 1 day. It can't be helped. Excuse me. Yes, boy.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Stern. That was quite a job of detective work you young fellows did.
Oh, well, Charles deserves all the credit, sir.
No, it was a real collaboration. Like a copy of the Gazette, Mr. Jones?
Thank you.
Is Miss Enright expecting you, Mr. Jones?
Well, I'd like to talk to her if she isn't too busy.
Janet, Mr. Jones is in the outer office.
How's the case coming?
Oh, Judge Perry has set Monday for the preliminary hearing. No bail.
Mr. Jones.
Miss Enright, I've been thinking what you said about a motive. Now, what if there was something else inside that filing cabinet that somebody wanted more than money?
Here is a check for your services. I think you will find it more than satisfactory.
Well, I'll be glad to take it when I feel that I followed through. But right now, if you don't mind, I'd like to have one more look at what's inside that cabinet and a chance to ask a few more questions.
I'm afraid I'll have to say no. Our school has had more than its share of scandal. I see no point in raking around a problem that the police have already solved. At least to my satisfaction. To put it bluntly, your services are no longer required.
I feel just like a conspirator, and I can't say I like it. Let's go in here.
Yep, we're the same. All three of them. Charles Lomax, Paul Thayer, William Graham. All came to Enright with poor or failing grades. Then sometime in the second semester, the grades shot up to A, even straight A's.
Spectacular, not all that unusual, especially when boys decide to knuckle down to work. And when some students come to a demanding prep school, Mr. Jones, they learn to test better.
Or when they happen to know the answers to the exams beforehand. I thought it would shock you when I said that.
I don't know what you're getting at.
All these final exams, questions and answers, were they always kept in that one filing cabinet with the combination lock?
Yes, as long as I've been. Then it wasn't the money the thief was after. It was the answer to the exam questions.
Mm-hmm.
And you think somebody beside Mr. Fannin was the one?
That would explain a lot.
Cheating during an exam is one thing. It's bad enough, but I can't believe this, Mr. Jones.
How much longer are these exams going to last today?
What? Oh, 25 minutes. This is the last one.
And when will they know the result?
They're tabbed by computer. They'll be posted on the bulletin boards by 4:30. Shh. Mr. Jones, come here. I must get back, and you shouldn't be here either.
One more favor. It's important. I want you to fail Charles Lomax and Willie Graham, but not Paul Thayer.
Why, I have no right to tamper with any grades. Their entire futures depend on these tests.
Maybe Ron Fannin's does too.
What good would it do?
Suppose one made the usual 95, 98 on the test, but the other two didn't. Then it would be obvious that the guy that made the high grades had pulled a fast one on his buddies. And if that happens, we might see some fireworks.
Charles is the ringleader, Mr. Jones. Shouldn't he be the one to get the best marks?
No. He's the ringleader, as you say, because he's smart enough not to do the dirty work. He gets stooges to do that. And Paul Thayer is exactly the type that Charles would pick.
Hey, I passed! Way to go! How are you supposed to remember all those dumb dates?
I thought you'd be gone by now, Mr. Jones.
If I'm trespassing, I apologize. But as I told you, I wanted to get to the bottom of this. Get at the truth is what I said. And I would certainly think you would, too.
Yes, you told me what you assume. I'd like to know how you expect to prove it.
Out of the mouths of babes, I hope.
Victor, I'd like to see you for a minute.
How did you do, fellas?
We aced it. 2 98s and a 99. Very fair test, Mr. Stern.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't cheat like that. I just couldn't take the chance.
Willie.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, with finals like these, we can get in any college we want. We can make it Stanford?
I was promised a smashing Italian convertible, and I certainly can't ride around with the top down all year at Harvard.
How are you riding around on that road down by the cliff where George Enright's body was found?
Miss Enright told all of us on student desk duty you didn't have permission to be on school property, Mr. Jones.
Want to call a cop?
Actually, we all have something to do, and...
You have nowhere to go, Paul.
Thanks, Lomax. I like your style. You see a problem, you want to meet it head on.
You know, I love the old philosopher, aw shucks bit you use on people, Jones. But why don't we get down to the nitty-gritty?
Suits me fine, except that this doesn't exactly concern you that personally, Lomax. I wanted to talk to Thayer here, but you can go if you want.
No! I mean,
well, why not? You're all for one for all anyway, aren't you? This is just yours, Paul, and I don't see how anyone else could even know about it. It's a photostatic copy of your check that was found in Fannon's fireplace with numbered 1007 written on the 12th. That's 2 days before Mr. Enright died. I can't figure how come 3 days later, on the 15th, you wrote 2 checks, one numbered 1006 and one 1005. Earlier numbers. Something fishy about the date.
Well, it could happen. I mean, if I wrote it out of order, it could happen.
But you didn't write them out of order, did you, Paul? You dated it 3 days before you wrote it, didn't you?
Yes.
His bank wouldn't give out that kind of information. What did you do, Jones? Bribe some stupid clerk?
No, I just took a shot in the dark. And Paul gave me the answer. Something else kind of funny. This Gazette you gave me the other day.
What about it?
Well, Paul, This picture you took of the people at the funeral, take a look at it. Seem a little unusual to you, particularly Fannin?
No.
Well, it's kind of small, so I made an enlargement. See, all the buttons are on the Wimbledon jacket. How do you figure?
Let me see that.
No, Paul, you tell me. How could all the buttons be on the jacket when one of them was lost 3 days ago at the cliff?
Fannin simply sewed on a new button. After the murder.
And tore it off days later when the police searched his apartment? Does that seem right, Paul?
He sewed it on badly, I suppose.
Look, I really got to call my family. I promise.
I will wait, Willie. Now, about George Enright's coffin. The people at the cemetery are absolutely mystified. They can't figure how bits of earth got inside the coffin. You see, it was sealed at the funeral home. Yesterday, I got a court order to dig it up, and we found dirt. Dirt from the cemetery inside the coffin. So somebody must have opened it, right? Opened it after the burial.
How could anybody do that?
Have you got any ideas, Paul?
I don't know.
Come on, tell us what really happened, Paul.
Please, Mr. Jones was an accident that night.
Keep your mouth shut, you stupid idiot.
Please, you got to believe me. I didn't mean to kill him. It was an accident. I told you we should call the police. I told you should have let me.
I'll do that for you now, Paul.
Can't you take the pressure? Can't you keep any cool at all? Everything was working perfect. Everything has worked perfect for years, damn it. And in 5 minutes, you blow everything I've set up for you.
Get me the sheriff's office, please. Lieutenant Roth, if he's on duty.
Yeah, me. Damn it, me. They'd be nowhere without me. You know who figured out how to get those examinations? I did. 3 years ago. I broke that combination. You know how? I used my brain. I figured it out. You know, I knew that it'd have to be something simple. Something right in front of everyone's nose. Janet Enright's birthday. June 18th, 1932. 6/18/1932. She's not 38 like she tells everyone. She's 40 years old. Born in 1932. 6/18/1932. And you ruined everything.
Thank heaven he's all right now. I was so anxious to clear my brother that I let myself be blind to everything and everyone. And those boys. Where did I go wrong?
Where do we all go wrong? Find problems like this in the slums of the ghetto, you're not surprised, but...
It happens in the best of families. Even here, where they have all the advantages. Well, there's a lot to do. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Bye, Miss Enright.